Na, 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 na. Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm your host here, Ash. Welcome back to another episode of the OnReviewCast. I'm so happy to be here, guys. You know, it's a special day, it's a special time. We're reviewing House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 4. This is our second time doing this. Because you know how in the podcasting world things go so swimmingly, so well put together, so correct that there is no possible way that we need to do a second take of things. So this is House of the Dragons on review again.
HBO series House of the Dragon Season 1 Episode 4.
Getting right to it. Okay, so just like every other episode, guys, how I always say, welcome to the OnReviewCast. First of all, I'm your host, Ash, and if you haven't heard or seen any of the OnReviewCast material before, this is your weekly go-to review for all things media and all things awesome in television and media world. And today we're taking a look at House of the Dragons, episode 4 of House of the Dragon Season 1. And just like every episode, like we do, we're going to get an episode breakdown courtesy of Fandom. And this episode is entitled King of the Narrow Sea. It is the 4th episode of the first season of House of the Dragon. It's the 4th episode of the series overall, and it premiered on September 11th, 2022 on HBO and HBO Max. It was written by Ira Parker and directed by Claire Kingler. Synopsis. After Rhaenyra cuts short her tour of Westeros, Daemon introduces the princess to the street of Silk after dark. At night. At night. Yeah, after dark. Oh, after dark. This episode was shit, man. Doing this for the second time. I'm gonna try to remember everything that I said before, but forgive me if I mess up a few things. This episode was, I think, the turning tide, of everything within Game of Thrones. I think that this is like this is where things start to crumble and the cracks of relationships begin to bend and break. So the episode kind of starts out with Rhaenyra is on tour. She's trying to find a suitable match for her to further secure her line and take a husband, because she's to be the succession to the throne. And she cuts her tour short to head back home, as the talent wasn't to her liking. Just like a princess says, the talent was the princess's taste. It wasn't to the princess's taste. Oh man, yeah, guys, it's gonna be one of those episodes. Strap in. Oh boy. But on her way back, essentially, what happens is that she's headed back to King's Landing despite her father setting up these, string of men who would be her liking to see her fit. And I think I mentioned this, maybe I might have mentioned this before, previously, but how. Like, I feel like Viserys is being like also like nice as shit to Rhaenyra. Do you know what I mean? Because like, man, he could have just been like, you know what, you're making all this fuss and muss about whatever it is about being treated as an object and all this other stuff, which essentially which it comes down to. He could have just been like, no, he could be the cruel king who's like, no, this is what's happening. You're gonna marry this guy or marry X, Y, and Z, whether you like it or not. There you go. But no, he's being cool about it. He's trying to be very understanding to his daughter's like new aged way of kind of like thinking. I think that's actually kind of cool. First of all, him being, initially kind of like cool about, or trying to be cool about and respectful to her feelings and her wants. So on the way home, basically, she's sailing. She runs into a dragon, which basically it turns out that Damon was on. So, like previously in the last episode, we talked about Damon was in the Stepstones and he was fighting all the crowd feeders. He's returning home now to give this message of his conquest, his defeats, his statuses of war. Will you? So something about that, right? While they're in the middle of the ocean, this dragon just comes out of nowhere and just kind of fucking blows them out of the way. The fuck was that about, man? Like, like honestly, like, I think that was just like, honestly, like, probably like Damien just being a dick. Honestly, 110%. Like, because like he brushes up against Rhaenyra's boat and almost like basically capsizes them. And when Rhaenyra sees him, the weirdness already starts from there. I notice now on the second watch. The weirdness already starts. You see a glimmer in her eye. She's like, "Uncle, he's back." Like, why are you so excited to see your uncle? Anyway, I'm not getting ahead of myself. Anyway, so getting too ahead of myself. This is gonna be one of those episodes. It's gonna get wild. Damon enters the throne room with the balls on this motherfucker. The balls. He enters the fucking throne room, the fucking throne room with a fucking crown on his head. And I mean, he gives an explanation to it as to like, oh, this is because they decided to call me King of the Narrow Sea now, just because, after I defeated the crab feeder or whatever. But he didn't have to walk in there with the crown and to kind of declare. I feel like he was trying to make a statement with that, essentially. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I mean, he's a very brash character, if I do say so myself. And after this, I know with the moral questionably in Damon. Oof. Anyway, he presents himself to the king. He basically tells him there's only one true king. He takes off his crown, and he gives him basically the update of like how the sea snake went back home, and that no one is looking after the Stepstones essentially right now. And it's pretty cut and dry when he's back, and the king actually welcomes Damon back with like open arms, really. And I mean, like, and this is like off of the heels of essentially, he wasn't supposed to go there in the first place. One of the things that I thought was interesting was that there was a moment of tension. It's like, okay, what's the king gonna do? Because he went to go and fight that war that he didn't necessarily authorize Damon to essentially go and pursue, right? And that was the whole big issue. One of the big issues that they were actually discussing in the earlier part of the series, actually. And I actually thought that this was like Viserys. I mean, like, again, we see this is a different kind of king, and I hate to kind of sort of almost compare it to Game of Thrones, but I kind of have to. I feel like to a certain degree, because like we see like Damon is forgiven essentially by the king, right? But what if that was King Joffrey? King Joffrey wouldn't have let that shit slide. He would 110% would have been like, he would have been petty about it. It's like, oh, I'm going to cut off your head now for going against my orders and doing this, even though, you won the day for the kingdom and etc. and all this other stuff. But you see the differences between King Joffrey and King Viserys. The two main kings within this series as of so far. And I just wanted to say that I wanted to point out that like King Joffrey might have been something I noticed, and let me know if you guys noticed this too. He might have been a dick. He might have been an asshole. He might have been petty as shit. Nobody liked him. But the only time he got played was when he was dying. Besides the little tidbits here and there from his mom in the beginning of Game of Thrones, that was that. But other than that, realistically, he never got played until the end. And you notice that something. I'm not saying like dickishness works or being an asshole works. I'm not saying that. But I mean, it's less likely that people are going to mess with you as opposed to Viserys. I mean, if you look at it right now with the situation with the whole Alicent and his brother basically fighting his battles for him and taking charge of the whole crab feeder thing. I mean, he's not really he's not a very actionary character. He's more of a reactionary character. Things happen around him and he reacts to it, as opposed to him actually acting on things and things happening. I suppose that's kind of like how Jeffrey was. And that kind of leads him to be susceptible to be, AKA, getting played, in my opinion, honestly. We see it with the Lady Alicent and Otto Hightower being, the whole situation is basically a manipulation, a ploy done by Otto Hightower, and he gets played by him. And we see it again with Daemon taking charge, essentially. And even to a certain extent with Rhaenyra, with him letting her have so much freedom that it kind of bites him in the ass. His kind of benevolence, I don't know what you had to pronounce that word. It's kind of, he's lackadaisical, kind of not being too stern with people or not being as cruel, kind of leaves him open to vulnerabilities. Let me know if you guys agree, what you guys think about that, and see if you guys are on board with that sort of kind of train of thought and that idea. It's something that I've noticed. But that's definitely something I feel has caused his downfall. I'm not saying he should have been a dick like Dr. Joffrey, but there's definitely a balance when it comes to being stern and strict with your, if you're a king or you're a ruler or some kind of leader. You have to find a perfect balance of being showing kindness and showing mercy and showing room to breathe and grow, and then know when to act with really a heavy hand. And Viserys, I think as we go along, this is on review, we've seen other parts of it. As things go along, we see more and more of that start to come out. But at this point, these were definitely some mistakes, I feel like he made. Anyway, on with the episode. And again, like I said, let me know if you guys agree. So this episode, when Daemon comes back, they're all in the courtyard and they're all chilling and everything. And something that of note that I gotta talk about real quick is the more of this ostracization and segregation that Rhaenyra is being essentially put under. But this is coming after the fact that she canceled her tour early, and she says congratulations to her brother and all this other stuff. And there are just looks that are shifted towards her by her father after Daemon says thank you. And this is it just more segregation by Alicent suggesting if he wanted to see the tapestries or something like that. And of course they joke around and say no, he doesn't want to see those things. And Rhaenyra says I'd like to see them. And her dad responds by saying oh, well then you should enjoy them by yourself. Oh, you should he says you should just enjoy them. You don't let us keep you. And then she's I shall enjoy them by myself. That was just straight up cold as shit. That was just straight. That was that was cold as shit. That was just straight up you see the ostracization happening and the segregation happening from Rhaenyra and this newly attempted family that her father is trying to create. But I understand why they're mad, but he's particularly not too taken with it because if you spend all this money to be all right, you want to pick whoever you want to pick, I will open the invitations or send the invitations or hopefully let everybody in the kingdom know. I'll send all the ravens. We have enough money to send 10 million ravens over there, so everybody knows to get the message that you are open for business. And you just come home early and you're just fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore after you begged me to let you do this. I get the frustration, honestly. But I mean, that's just, again, it just shows, and we'll see why these segregating, the split of these things happening, the fragmentations of stitched together family that is them right now is kind of taking place. But it seems like at this point anyway, Rhaenyra and Alicent's relationship is still kind of like attempting to be saved or savored. It seems for the most part, of course, it later on goes and changes in this episode, but for the beginning of this episode, we see that their bond and their connection is kind of still there, even though they're two very different females of two different perspectives of this time. And I think that this was that point of this main episode in illustrating that. We have two different kinds of females that are undergoing two different kinds of experiences of particularly the same age. And their contrasts are rather evident. And I know I've been doing this a bit, but like, I want to throw it to the audience now. I want to throw it to the ladies out there. And without spoiling it within the comments, because I know there are probably certain people that are watching this that are not going to know exactly what happens in the future of it. But so far, in terms of after watching this episode, you should have watched this episode before you actually you listen to On Review. Thank you for listening, but like, hopefully you have watched this episode. The question is, I present to the ladies out there, and ladies in particular, because it's a different perspective of being a female and being a female of this era and looking at it into that era. Are you team Alicent or are we team Rhaenyra? I really would like to know, guys. Comment, message, let me know in all the socials. I'm really interested. I don't want to spark a war here in the comments or in the chats or anything like that, but I'm just very interested as to what lifestyle kind of you guys gravitate. I'm gonna guess the majority of the females out there, given in a day and age we live in, 20XX, whatever, they're probably gonna opt for the lifestyle and the train of thought that is Rhaenyra. But I mean, really, do you agree? Do you guys think that her character and her train of thought is correct and is something that you guys would probably jump on board with during that time, especially the medieval times of like where people are more likely to get murdered in brutal ways? Or are you more of, you think you would want to stay in the lines of traditions and houses and families and sticking to that without breaking or without having a curious or wondering taste, if you will? I think they put it later on. Would you stick to tradition of Alicent, or would you have a wandering taste like Rhaenyra? I'm very interested into knowing what kind the majority, and I'm guessing the majority of people are gonna get inside with Rhaenyra. Anyway, so the episode kind of continues and it goes on to a scene where they talk about how Sir Laenor, the sea snake, Sir Laenor is the son of the sea snake. So son of the sea snake, Sir Laenor, is thinking about merging or combining with the three cities and forming like basically an alliance. And the council is kind of worried about that. And so they bring up this whole idea of essentially marrying Alicent off once again. And not Alicent, marrying Rhaenyra off once again. And this brings great distress kind of to her because of the talk that they had previous in the episode where she's now allowed to choose her mate. And I don't know, something I'm curious about is like, I'm not too sure, I guess they do know, or they don't, I don't know. I think there was just like a lot of pressure being put on her to get married. That's why she felt, that's why they kind of discussed it in that room. But I wonder if they knew that she had cut her tour short or if she was even on a tour to significantly like find someone of her match. But I kind of thought it as like disrespectful for like Otto Hightower to just like kind of mention. I was like, oh well, maybe we should consider a match of our own. If he did know, that was kind of like fucked up, right? It's kind of we're in the process. She's in the process of finding her ideal mate. She's doing it. Don't. But it's like him saying that is kind of like rushing her. It's kind of like, well, what the fuck? So it was like, well, what the? Well, obviously, Renera didn't shoot him and look like, well, what the fuck? But like, Mysterious kind of just looked at her like, hurry up, bitch! Like, hurry up, bitch! Like this is TikTok, bitch. Political, this is that. Things are happening in other places. So anyway, we switched to back scenes to where Rhaenyra is now in her chambers, and she finds a note within a bag. She finds a bag of clothes and a note within it that has like instructions for her to actually fucking like leave this to leave her chambers, to escape at night and into the night from her chambers. And this is where the shit gets crazy. This is where I definitely feel like shit gets wild, yo. Shit gets real wild. So like I said before, she finds this note and instructions of how to escape this, how to escape her chambers. And she puts on the clothes. I guess the intuition instructed her to put on the clothes and escape via this secret entrance, which is fucked up beyond belief. And kind of like the levels of just what the fuck. Like, I mean, like, she's a prince. Okay, I just related back to like real time right now, right? What if she was getting catfished, or she was getting played, or some shit like that? What if like it was some kind of like thieves or something? That's kind of like what I thought like at the beginning when I first watched it on the first watch. I was like, these motherfuckers are trying to kidnap you. What are you doing, bitch? Like, why is she going out there to try to like? What is like? This is a bad idea. This can't end up well, right? But she ends up putting on these clothes and going out of this entrance, and who sets this up for her essentially is none other than her uncle Damien. And it's kind of like you know when you like, you can see when things are gonna go real bad real fast. Like, the weirdness is already starting. It's kind of like, well, why is he there? What is he fucking planning on doing, like with her? And like, I don't know. It was just it was a awful, definitely weird vibe. And you know what it kind of reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of like, I know you guys. I don't know how much you guys are familiar with the story Pinocchio out there, but like, remember when Pinocchio fucking like left home and Geppetto? The story of Pinocchio basically goes, Geppetto like warned him not to go off with these boys, or not to go off with the boys into this bad part of town or something like that, with all the fun and excitement or whatever. And then Pinocchio, obviously being a boy, he disobeys Geppetto and he goes off and he just fucking does what everyone wants and he gets himself in trouble. Looking at it and looking at the story really reminded me of that story. That's how I knew. I was like, oh no, like this is gonna end up bad. And this street looks like this is not like a Harry Potter street. You know, the alleyway from Harry Potter. It's like the opposite of that. It's like people fucking in the middle of the road and shit, and like a guy and some a seer. There's a witch. It just looks like a shady place, right? It looks like a fucking shady place. A bunch of drunks walking into the road. I think one even like actually fucking bumps into her or some shit. It's just like not a place for a princess to be. And like, there's so many ways that this fucking shit could have gone wrong. Could you imagine if like Prince Harry and what Princess Megan, I don't know if that's her name, but Prince Harry's like wife and himself was like, let's go undercover and like try to go into some underground shit and do some shit. I'd be like, dude, you know how many like terrorists are probably trying to like do some wicked stuff, or it's dangerous. How ill-advised that probably is. Like, it's a number of things can happen where you can get hurt, and just reckless, super reckless. Fucking people to walk on the tightropes and shit. I don't know. The situation is ridiculous, and they're drinking, and it's debauchery. It's debauchery all around. But the thing is, she's fascinated by this world, and the reason that she's fascinated by this world is because she's fucking rich. Hear me out. Hang on. Hear me out. Hang on 1 second. The fact that some rich people out there, I'm not saying all rich people, I'm not judging in general, but like some rich people out there, they have nothing to do. They're bored as shit. It's mainly because she's rich, and it's because she's never experienced it before, and she's at the age of like she wants to explore, experience wonder, and she has fascination. She just has this curiosity, but as we all know, curiosity is what got that cat. Anyway, so they switch back scenes to Viserys and Alicent, and she's trying to essentially attend to him and his state of being, and he's still ailing. We can tell. He's still decaying to some degree, but it looks like, Alicent is for the most part taking care of him, and she's doing her best. But again, like I said earlier, this whole episode is to basically contrast two different experiences of the queen and the princess, of what they're going through at this particular time and era. And they definitely say experiences are the things that help to shape our frame and perspective of certain things. I 110% believe that to be true, and it's clearly illustrated here. Anyway, so and then in that tradition, they switch back to Rhaenyra, and they're watching a show that the commoners are essentially putting on, which basically identifies that basically portrays Rhaenyra as the next succession to the throne. But it seems like they don't take this seriously. I want to say that they are not on the side, or not of the mindset that she would never necessarily be a great or strong ruler performed by this play, and that was the whole point of it. The whole play was actually ridiculous. It was interesting, but it was an interesting way to the whole play was ridiculous. But I will say this, and I will, to the credits of the show, to the creditors who people created the show, the way that they portrayed that was actually kind of good and smart. They had similar gestures and things happening in Game of Thrones too, where they kind of did this. So it's not necessarily new, but to convey it in a way where it's kind of like a story of tragedy, I want to say, is kind of like, I don't know. It's the best way to convey what the people are thinking. That's what I'm trying to say. It's the best way to show an expression of what a group of people, what the idealistic consensus is in King's Landing of Rhaenyra ruling at that time. So, yeah. Anyway, so basically but Rhaenyra's not really paying attention to any and all of this. And essentially she doesn't really care about like what the people think, really. And she kind of claims that like she's the heir is the heir. Like, it is what it is. It doesn't really matter too much what they think, and they will have to grow in time to either accept her or not, because so says the king, so says the dragon, right? And in their way, trouncing about the street, she tries to like steal some food and runs away. And Damon actually chases her, but she runs into Sir Harwin, who I will argue should have had the great or the better senses to have been like, you know what? You shouldn't be out here. She just been like, you shouldn't be out here. But she catches Rhaenyra, and he first assumes that she's a boy or whatever. But anyway, but then he recognizes her as him, and he kind of lets her go after seeing Daemon walking up behind her. I don't know why he kind of just like let her. Like highly irresponsible in my opinion. Could have avoided so much shit if that one dude would have just been like, you know, this isn't a good idea. I don't know why she's out here. Why is she out here? Okay, if she's out here, Prince Daemon, I'll let you do your thing or whatever it is. You're escorting her, but I'm gonna at least tell someone that, you know, she's out here, so maybe someone else can go and get her and, you know, stop the events of what is most likely gonna happen, which we know about. We'll get there. We're gonna get there. Anyway, so after letting her essentially go, we switch back to Allison, who is having a different experience. Like I said, this is the whole point of the episode, contrasting. And she's awakened by one of the servants in the middle of the night. In a bed, sleeping, all comfortable, and the servant kind of comes in and is like, I'm sorry, miss, but the king requests your presence. And we all know what's about to go down. Like, we all know what's about to go. We know why. We know why she's being summoned. We know why. And it's just, we'll get to it, but it's just it's just sad. It's just kind of sad, really, honestly. God damn. Anyway, switching back to Rhaenyra, Daemon has now taken his niece, to a brothel show. So the first part of the show, it seems like this place that where we're at now, she's just taken aback as to like the sexual energy of this place is just a bit much. You know, but he kind of like isolates from her and kind of watches her from afar. Kind of fucked up in this whatever the fuck that he's doing, really. And she just looks like very out of place and not very, you know, she's still growing up. Like, she's just very out of place, very uncomfortable, I want to say, almost to an extent, as to what's going on. All these naked people like kind of like dancing around. But yeah, so it switches back to the scene of Alicent and the king. And the king and Alicent are going at it. They're banging. And, well, no, we can't even say they're really banging. Hold on, let's rewind. They're not really banging. They are, the king is humping her, and it's just sad. The king is just like straight up humping her, and it's just sad. And I just, poor Alicent, goddamn. Goddamn. She's just like, and she is miles away from this. She's the psychological damage that is taking place within her right now, that she looks like a deer in the headlights. She's just been so, she's not enjoying it, guys. I don't know what to say. She's not enjoying it. He's just, this motherfucker's just humping away, and I'm just like, I looked away. I looked away. I couldn't look. I couldn't continue to look. I mean, I couldn't look. Did you? Comment down below. Did you guys look away? Did you? Did you look away? Did you look right in her eyes? And she like, oh god. Oh god. Okay. All right. Okay. Wait. Let's get back to it. I'm sorry, guys. This is one of those episodes. Man. So we switch back to Rhaenyra and Daemon, and it seems like the sexual show has a level 2. I guess. I don't know how to describe this. I'm sorry. But like, it seems like the sexual show has a level 2. And I want to point something out. Damon went into level 2, which I will describe in a second. Taking off Rhaenyra's almost like head disguise, and he puts like he takes the hat off of her and throws it to the side, and he's not in this cloak anymore. Like, that's the really important state. So it's almost like he wanted to be seen. And from the events that we know what happens in the future, which I guess we'll get to, it's kind of just I noticed this on the second watch. I didn't notice it on the first watch because I was just like, I'm sorry guys, I was distracted by all the nudity. I'll just be very honest with you. I was distracted by all the nudity. It was very captivating. Anyway, so they go into this sex show level 2 pleasure den. That's what I'm gonna call it. Level 2 pleasure den. And level 2 is all kinds of it's I don't even know how to describe this place. Like, it's like there are drapes all around. It's not, I was gonna call it like it's essentially I was gonna call it a whorehouse or a sexual den, but it looks like some kind of, I don't know, like knocking the production value of it, but it just looks like it just like drapes around. It's not, it doesn't look like it's outside, and it looks like a fuck place, you know. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like a fuck place, a place to fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look like, I can't even describe this place, but there are people around and they're watching them, clearly seeing them, and they're in this fuck place, and everybody, and Rhaenyra just has like a bunch of questions, as do I, because I don't know. This looks like a very, again, like I said, an ascended level of what that nudity show of what they were essentially watching before, and it's fine. But on my first and second watch, I'm thinking to myself, well, what this is all very distracting, but what's going on here? Why are they here? Like, they're a niece and nephew, and you know, they're related, and you know, they're at the same house of the dragon. Why are they you know, what's going on here? And that's when I remembered that this is fucking Game of Thrones. Oh, we've seen apparently, or incest. Well, yes, incest, straight up with Jaime and Queen of Game of Thrones, and we've seen implied incest with Daenerys Targaryen and, you know, Snow. But that's when I remember it, and then they start making out, and I'm just like, whoa, and then we switch back to Alicent, who's like a daredevil. Who's continuously being humped. So, two different experiences, both horrible. So basically, the moral of the story, or the thing that's being communicated to me here in House of the Dragon, is essentially that you can either be humped by a dying old man, one, or you can make out with your uncle in a fuck place. You choose. You choose. Oh man, what a rough night. Anyway, man, she's miles away. Anyway, so as they continue to make out, both having experiences. The only, you know what? Okay, the thing is, we should mention about this real quick. We'll talk about this real quick. Here's the thing, Rhaenyra. Alicent is blatantly not enjoying this. She is not having a shit. It's all bad shit, right? She's not having a good time. Clearly, right? Yeah, she's not having a good time. But Rhaenyra seems to be somewhat into this. I don't know what for and what and why. It's so fucked up. I'm sorry, guys, I'm laughing so much, but it's so fucked. Like, but she's I don't know. So Damon begins to work on her as I said, it's fucking unbuttoning her and pulling down her dress, and I swear, like, this dude was just up. Sorry, this dude is just seconds away from penetration, seconds away from being from sinking it in. It's seconds away from sinking it in, and he just stops. He just stops and he looks at her. And Rhaenyra begins to try to attempt to make out with him and continue, and he backs off in frustration. What it looks like, at least to me, on the first take, it looked like frustration. On the second take, it looked like hesitation when I watched it. But I think it was a combination of both. And I'm interested, and I know this is probably kind of crazy, but what do you guys think? Like, why do you think he didn't go with it straight up? Like, on his moral core, do you feel like he couldn't just be that gross? He couldn't continue with the grossness, or was he grossed out, or was he just like, was he just like a deep down, or was this like something calculated? You know what I mean? Was this all it was intended? I'm really interested as to what you guys, have to say. So Damon leaves. He fucks off, yeah, and leaves Rhaenyra there, pants down, pussy wet. Straight up, that's what happens. Pants down, pussy wet, and she fucks off back to her chamber. And I'm not gonna lie, on the first watch, very confused. What the fuck happened? Why the fuck were they there? Why did he recuse himself from doing something even grosser than what he was already doing? That's your fucking niece. Do you know what I mean? You guys are fucking related. And then B, essentially really like taking advantage of her, really. So she fucks off back home, and she goes back and she meets Sir Christian Cole at the door, who like is fucking confused, like understandably so, as to like the fact that she has somehow slipped out of her room, unbeknownst to him, because she comes in through the front fucking door, which was kind of weird. Why? I mean, why would you? Okay, you were sneaking out. You were doing all kind of debaucherous shit. People saw you. Like, I don't know. She can't be this stupid. Is she? I mean, I don't know. Anyway, people saw her. But, like, she comes in right through the front gates, right through the front door of Sir Christian Cole, passes right through Sir Christian Cole, instead of using the secret passage that she has, I assume that she just now found out about. Did she forget where it was? Is that what it is? Like, she just forgot what that passage was. That was a weird thing. I'm not crazy, and I don't even need to ask you guys about that. I'm not crazy about it. Why didn't she just go back through the place where she came? Unless did the door lock behind her or some shit? Do they have that technology now? Like, I don't fucking know. That's just fucking weird, though. Anyway, she starts to mess with, and girls, females are such a complex. Anyway, I won't go there. Rhaenyra starts messing with Sir Christian Cole and taking his hat and playing keep away from his hat. And from this, being a young man, I already knew it was gonna go down. I was already like, y'all about the fuck. Like, I was like, y'all about the fuck. Oh my God, she's about to fuck this guy. Like, and I mean, like, you know what? Like, realistically, okay. But at the same time, like, but Damon leave it with pants down, pussy wet. But like, I mean, at the same time, like, is this really the smartest thing? Is this really the bestest of things? Is what she should be doing. You know what I mean? I mean, but again, young, impressionable. She just had a whole. I mean, can we really blame her? She had a whole fucking sex show, thrusted upon her face. She had a whole sex show thrusted upon her face, and the I don't know. I guess the sexual grossness of incest with her uncle has now turned her on. So now she kind of want to fuck anything that moves. Is that what it is? I don't know. But they proceed to, attempt to do the do, and I just the choices that we make, right? Oh, the choices that we make. That has, because again, we know the story. The choices that we make that creates consequences and situations that we have to live with. And I don't know, I guess she just wanted to fuck. And I'm not blaming her for wanting to fuck. And Lord knows anybody that needs the dick, that needs the D, is Rhaenyra. She's been going through a lot. Like, I'm not gonna lie, she's a little bit of a brat, honestly. But and if anything during that time for women in general, it might as well be, someone might as well at least be enjoying the D rather than just fucking being humped upon by this dying old man. Jesus Lord. Let me again, guys, I'm really interested. I'm not being weird about this, but I'm just really did you guys look away or did you stare right at Alison's eye? Did you stare right at her eyes? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. We've got to know here on OnReviewCast. That's important information. We use that for stats. Anyway, so she begins to fall into the passions of Christian Coles. And so while they fucking, it's clearly a contrast. Let's get back to that. It's clearly a contrast, a difference between what Alicent is experiencing. Like, everything shapes us in our experiences. Experiences shape us, like I said. Everything is the entire experience from beginning to end. It's completely different and completely the opposite of that of Alicent. Where Alicent was miles away and not enjoying it in the slightest, not happy about anything about what was happening there. And I can't blame her, Jesus. Rhaenyra is confidently enjoying the thrusts of love. As she's a fucking dragon for real, taking control. Anyway, whoa, beep, beep. anyway, it's just a very clear indication of different levels of passion within those two particular scenes. All right, so after that, the young boy or the messenger comes to Otto Hightower. There's someone at the gate for Otto Hightower who was relaying messages about, what got down last night. About what gone down last night. And the morning comes about what gone down. Oh, yeah, well, basically, at that point, it would have probably been morning less likely when that boy came up. But anyway, so because they show the next scene, it's like morning comes up. And yeah, the young boy tells Otto Hightower about what got down last night. Last night was crazy. And it's like, Daemon is there with, Daemon wakes up in this place with his old-time bang buddy, like I don't want to say a word, but that's what she was. Like, trying to be disrespectful. All right, but he wakes up next to this the lady who he was banging before, and he's drunk off of his ass, and sorely he looks, and he 110% looks like a man who has regrets about last night, and he should feel regret, guilt, and grossness all at the same time, because what the fuck, honestly. I mean, you stopped midway through, bro, but I mean, you were basically, it was basically the tip. It was basically already the tip. That's all I gotta say. Holy fuckle. Buckle. My God. But yeah, so they show the scene. Oh man, the next scene is like they show moving in along. So the next scene is kind of like with Otto Hightower, and he is like, we know like what's coming next. I want to talk about that real quick. Like, I mean, like, holy shit! Like, it's so funny because like, it's so funny. Like, there is like a moment before he like goes to talk to the king, right? About what going on last night. And you can see the distress on this motherfucker's face. He's like, I really don't want to go in there and talk to him about how his daughter was trying to fuck his uncle, her uncle and shit. You can see on his face. He's like, I really don't want to fucking go in there and talk to him about this shit, but like, I gotta go do it because I'm the hand of the king. Holy fuck, dude. That's because like, it's awkward, right? How do you go? Because imagine that. And really, really imagine that in this day and age in like 20XX. Imagine that. Imagine it's your boss. Fuck. Imagine it's your boss and you gotta go like, and something gone down with his daughter. And you feel the need to like tell him. Like, how do you even start that conversation? Shit. It's gotta be awkward. How do you even start the conversation? How do you leave it like, it's kind of like, well, sir, I thought you should know. I was at the company party last night, and your daughter Linda was there, and I'm sorry, Linda. Sorry, our AI is named Linda. Sorry, Linda. Let's use the name Shelby. Your daughter Shelby was there, and she was trying to fuck her uncle. I mean, it looked like she was enjoying it too, sir. What the fuck? How do you, dude, it's gotta be awkward. It's just, and then he's gonna like not believe you, right? He's not gonna believe it. He's not gonna want to believe it. Like, and that's exactly what fucking happens in the scene. He's like, he starts denying it. He's like, no, and he starts making all these threats about how he's gonna fucking murder the person who he told him this, and he. Shit. Holy fuck. There's no way you can have a conversation like that. It's not gonna be awkward. Like, fuck, man. Fuck. And how does he describe it? What does he say? We saw she was carrying on with her uncle. Oh my God. Man. What an episode. Holy fuck. What an episode indeed. Anyway, so during this whole like confession by Otto Hightower, Alicent is in the background, and she make matters worse, she hears about this shit, and the king actually sees her over herring, and then they kind of cut away to Rhaenyra, where she's actually she encounters Kristen Cole as he walks into her chambers, and she has this like gleeful smile, like he's back, like more, like it was like, oh yeah, come inside, yeah, come again. I'm like, okay, all right, okay. But Sir Kristen Cole has a different kind of message to deliver her, and he's like, hey, like the queen requests an audience with you, kind of thing. So Rhaenyra goes to talk to Alicent, and the fucking conversation starts off already kind of hostile as to the nature of her actions kind of last night. And she starts questioning her about like what the fuck gone down, right? What the fuck gone down last night? What gone down last night? Oy, oy, oy. Okay, all right. And she says something. You know what's weird? She said something that was kind of so like. It was kind of she approached her with like judgment in her eyes already, and we knew what Rhaenyra did and didn't do, and she knows what she did and she didn't do. But Allison doesn't know at this point. But like Allison looked at her with such disgust and such disdain that Rhaenyra basically lies about it. And thinking about it, like, as we know about what happens in the further episodes and stuff, like, this is the lie that kind of turns the tide for essentially everything. But like, I mean, she was coming in hot, right? Allison was coming in hot, so she felt like she needed to lie. It's kind of basically just kind of sort of shows to you that, like, if you tell the truth, maybe like things would just like kind of sort of maybe be okay. But I felt like the thing was, I guess she felt like she couldn't trust her to that extent or that level, because again, she was coming in hot. She was already ready to believe the things that she'd heard about her, rather than actually try to like talk to her about her and try to, for like, she was already accusing her. Like, you kind of see it in her eyes too. Like, she was already accusing her and wanting to believe that, yeah, that did happen with Daemon. And the thing is, I mean, she sort of kind of lies to an extent, right? But she didn't tell her like the truth of it. Which it was like a half truth. And everything was about to happen, but it stopped. Sorry about that. But I mean, I just think, again, like the fractures of this relationship is what basically happens is basically based off of a lie. If she hadn't told that lie, or if she hadn't or half truth, if she had trusted her enough, because she calls her sister and all this other stuff, if she trusted her enough as a sister and tell her like, oh, I didn't fuck Daemon, but I fucked the guard or something like that. But like, Allison was already kind of like judging her with disdain and about her virtue, essentially, basically like not being a virgin and stuff. Like, it kind of sent her off on an offensive path, defensive, not offensive, on a defensive path of like, I need to lie to this bitch. Like, she gonna freaking freak out if I tell her like I bought this card or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I mean, it's because she didn't trust her. It's because she was fearful of the judgment that she decided to lie to her. And we see, maybe, well, not too spoiler alert, kind of, sort of, but as we see further on down the line, this is the lie that causes some very devastating things to happen within a relationship. Anyway, moving on with this episode, Allison actually decides to believe Rhaenyra, right? And I guess it's actually kind of sort of shows that like so the friendship is still intact, but at this point, but it took some dings, right? I feel like it definitely took some dings, but with this information that she has delivered to her, it's still there. It's still somewhat kind of intact, and that just kind of shows the depth at which their friendship kind of is at right now. So Daemon comes back looking like he, again, had a fucking night of regret. And the gods essentially take him. And they decide to... but they take him because the king has requested an audience with him to eventually exactly find out what got on last night. Okay. All right. So, I want to talk about something real quick right here with this scene. When he was taken to the chambers to talk with Viserys. Now, let me know if you guys agree with this or not. Viserys, and like I said at the beginning, Viserys has been pretty fucking mellow, man. We haven't seen him get crazy or murderous like Joffrey, or like be a little psychopath or abuse his power. He's been a relatively kind and benevolent king. And when he needs to put down the hammer, I think we kind of say he kind of does put down the hammer as like just like when Daemon actually wanted help with they knew that Daemon was losing the battle with the stepstones and he requested help, and he was very hesitant about doing that. He's like, because he wanted him to fight to lay in his own bed because he made it. But for the most part, we've seen him be pretty fucking cool about shit. He let his daughter choose who she want to marry. He has like I guess like, aside from the first episode, that's I was gonna say he isn't but that decisive choice wasn't really, again, that wasn't really, he didn't show any kind of cruelty or any kind of like vigor or anger or anything like that. He seemed to be very chill king. He's not forcing anybody to marry anybody. He has been very like patient with his brother. I feel like despite forgiving him to go to the stepstones by himself. But in this scene, we see him actually get angry. We actually see that kind of like, I was like, whoa, a little bit. Like, I was like, oh, so like this motherfucker does have some heat. He's got some fucking fire in his belly. He can do some shit. It's the first time I've ever seen him get upset at, well, or show some real feelings of like, oh, like he might kill a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like he might kill someone. It was just a very different tone, because I thought that there was a real chance that like he could have killed Daemon and right there and then and just be done with it. But I don't know. There was a small part of me that was wondering like if he was actually going to do it, and it would have been, I don't know, how would you guys felt about that if he just like killed him right there and then? I guess like it would have been like out of his character to a certain degree, but also at the same time, I mean, like from what he understands, he fucked his daughter, dude, his niece. Like, what the fuck? All right, I mean, like Joffrey's killed motherfuckers for lust, for sure, or tortured bitches for lust, for sure. Literally that arrow scene. Anyway, but yeah, I thought that was very interesting. But anyway, they had this conversation about essentially how he wants to take Rhaenyra now that he didn't even deny it, right? How he's apparently defiled her, and that's why I proposed that question. I wondered why, if this is all a calculated thing, or was it that it was just really necessarily a night on the town where they were having too much fun and the debaucherous natures of the dragon got out of hand. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Was this planned, calculated by Damien, or was this something that was just something that just happened? And he just wanted to show her a gross good time. Ugh. Also, something I wonder if it was calculated or if it was just so happened to be that way, is that the conversation with Rhaenyra that Alicent had set up initially, was that like, do you guys think that like that was planned by the king to say, king was like, all right, well, you talk to her first because she's probably going to trust you and give you the correct information, rather if I go to her and directly and ask all this information and talk with her first. Or was it just like Alicent just wanted to know exactly what was going on, because she reports it back to the king in the next few scenes, and I wonder, is like Rhaenyra had to know like they were kind of like working together, I get, well, not working together, or like she would probably report to the king, but like probably that's why she probably was like, I better lie to this bitch. Like she's probably gonna take that information right to daddy, or this and basically further shows that Rhaenyra didn't necessarily trust her all the way, because like if she did trust her friendship all the way, she'd probably be like, oh yeah, girl, I fucked that dude, all this other stuff. And you know what I mean? Like that's how girls talk, and that's how girls are, you know, and they keep their secrets. But clearly it shows that, you know, Alicent is more has more favor to the unfortunate relationship that she has with the king and the loyalty to the king, rather than the friendship that she holds with Rhaenyra. And I just wonder if that was either calculated or if it was something calculated by either Rhaenyra or Alicent, or something that was just planned. Was it calculated by Rhaenyra that she knew that she would tell that Alicent would tell her father, and this is the lie that everybody will believe now? Or was it just the fact, or was it was it also a calculated attempt to talk to her through Alicent, Viserys' attempt to talk to Rhaenyra through Alicent? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I know that was kind of a confusing kind of question, but definitely interested to hear what you guys have to say. So the next scene is the scene where essentially they talk about Aegon the Conqueror's dagger, and how they talk about the Song of Ice and Fire, which is the thing that basically happens in the Game of Thrones. If you guys didn't know. And this is where we see daddy mode kind of comes in with Viserys. Again, showing different like sides of him, of the kind of king that he essentially is. Viserys basically tells her, like, you know what? I've been cool this entire time with you, and you have not necessarily been so reciprocative of that. And basically they fight about essentially like, oh, like if I was a man, I could bed a bunch of people or whatever. That's basically what she says, which is like, no. He's like, no, you're not a man, you're a woman, and it depends on you have a reputation and a look to uphold as a kind of a virtuous kind of like princess. And personally, I'll just chime in here. I agree with that to a certain extent, but I also don't agree with it to a certain extent. Obviously, it's a double standard, and today in today's society, clearly wouldn't fly. But I mean, she is a princess. If you're gonna fuck around, you can't do it in public. You gotta be secretive about it. You gotta be like, hush, hush. They gotta be like, they're way more discreet if you go around fucking a bunch of dudes. Like, go. She's like they say, like they Targaryens, right? They have the dragon, the fever of the dragon or whatever, to go fuck about and screw whoever they want to screw. If you're gonna do it, and you want to have this reverence about you, do it in fucking secret. Make sure nobody find out. That's it. But I don't know. That's my opinion on it. That's my 2 cents. Just a little bit of commentary there by Ash and his thoughts. Okay, but yeah, he basically tells her, okay, tour's over. You're done. I'm picking the husband for you. It's gonna be Laenor, the Sea Snake's son. This is your punishment. It's over. And she's like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. But Otto Hightower is the one who started all this, who basically caught her pants down, pussy wet, and left high and dry by Daemon. He's basically the one that caught her. So she's probably thinking like, he's got to go. And the king actually agrees with this situation, agrees with those kind of sort of terms, I guess I want to say. And he agrees to essentially fire his ass, fire Otto Hightower, replace his status of Hand of the King with another individual. And he strips him of that particular honor. And at the same time, I'm glad they something else actually happened. They reveal, he reveals that this is actually kind of sort of significant. He reveals that he knew to some extent, I feel like, or that he noticed it eventually, that he had been played by Otto, by him, with Alicent, and him planting Alicent as, you know, a confidant, as someone who can confide in, who he would then choose to marry and then have Aegon with. That would call into question the succession and the conflict of the succession in general into play. So that whole rift, he confronts him and he's like, I know it was you I know I didn't know I was you, but more like I know that for your own political gains, you planted her essentially, and that I was being manipulated to some or a certain degree of what it is. And that was actually interesting because of what we know what actually happens in the actual story, I think it actually declares and actually says to, everyone further pushing the idea that, if this hadn't happened, if the whole Alicent of it all wasn't really into play, would there be a conflict? There wouldn't be a conflict at all, really. If Rhaenyra was just married off to someone, really, how much of a conflict would there really be? But we get more into that into the next episode, and because this episode wraps up with the Maester bringing the tea that's basically supposed to it works as a pregnancy control. Essentially, that's what it is. And the tea is presented to her, and he basically tells her that it was brought to her by her father, and it basically communicates to us and communicates to her that her father didn't necessarily trust everything that she was saying. Not everything anyway, or at all. I didn't necessarily believe her anyway. Didn't believe the entire story, I believe. Which I mean, she got fucked that last night. She was fucking last night. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, her getting that tea at the end of the day is probably a good thing, I think, maybe to a certain extent. But I mean, it just solidifies that the distrust and the further rift that is being created between her and her father, despite him knowingly understanding that he's been played by Otto Hightower and the whole Alicent situation of it all, and Aegon being born. Anyway, guys, that's the end of the episode, essentially. Yeah, this one was actually really, really interesting, really, really good in my opinion. Definitely turned the tides, like I said. But definitely before we go, we can't end this episode without doing Ash's favorite scenes. Yay! Or Ash's worst scenes first. Ash's worst scenes. Dum dum dum. What's gonna be Ash's worst scene? It's the worst scene in this. Game of Thrones usually doesn't really have any like worst scenes. It's actually probably really well put together show. But a really unnecessary kind of stupid scene was that the guy in the beginning, when Rhaenyra was kind of testing out all these dudes, one of the little guys was getting like bullied in the hall, and there was like a little mini fight that happened, and the little guy ended up killing one of the men who were fighting for Rhaenyra's hand. And Rhaenyra looks back, and Kristen Cole's like, "Don't look, princess, look away." I don't know, it just looked kind of like an unnecessary kind of scene. Like I didn't really get the point of that. So I'm gonna say that was my worst one. But top 3 favorite scenes. Yay! Ash's favorite scenes. Oh yeah. We should come up with some kind of audio with that. Let me know if I should. Anyway, okay. So Ash's favorite scenes. Number 1, coming in. This is the part of the segment of the show, guys. Sorry if you don't know. This is the segment of the show where we take our favorite scenes from the actual episode that we watched, and going from 3 to 1, 3 being the lowest, the best scenes, and 1 being the best scene. Coming in hot at number 3, you're definitely gonna say the whole returning of Daemon when he was in the hall, because that could have gone so many different ways, but I liked it because like it actually showed it was kind of a prep, so maybe like potentially we don't really know it till long con, right? Like whether he was like whole thing was even calculated. This whole episode was calculated to make her look in a certain kind of light. But I thought that was kind of cool. He came back with a crown nonetheless, showing that he didn't even really need his help from his brother in conquering the stepstones. And it also showed that Viserys is actually can show mercy, and is kind of a different kind of king than that of past kings like Joffrey. Coming in at number 2, definitely I gotta say the scene that I think was the best to me was the fuck place. When Daemon and Rhaenyra are in the fuck place, and it looks like everybody's like watching them, and it looks like things are just about to go down, and he backs away from her and he stops the engagement in between her. Still don't know if this is something that was calculated, or if it was, was it calculated, or was it intended all along? As I say, like this is like essentially the plan in action. Because if it was calculated, that means that Daemon is fearsome in terms of combat and also in tactics as well. It just shows that that's not a bad move in the Game of Thrones. It's not a bad move. Coming in at number 1, though, definitely for the best scene, I think in this episode has got to definitely be the scene with Rhaenyra and Alicent. I like the scene the most because like it actually shows the acting is so on point here. You can see again, like I was saying, like when she comes in hot. When she starts questioning her about what God died last night. What happened last night, and we see that she's like, again, like has so much judgment in her eyes, and Rhaenyra is so like offended by this and so like hurt by this, because that's like a normal reaction, but like something you could see definitely happening in between two friends in this day and age, and like they just played it up very, very well. The acting in that, I think that's why I like that. That was like probably like my favorite scene of the entire episode. But overall, an awesome episode. And just before we go, we're gonna get the score from Linda, our lovely Linda. Linda, give us the on review score.
House of the Dragon episode 4 receives a 5 out of 5.
Anyway, guys, that's definitely gonna do it for me. I am way out of time. Thank you so much, Lilith, for listening to this episode of OnReviewCast, and thank you to all of our supporters and everybody who interacts with us on our socials. Don't forget to interact with us on our socials at OnReviewCast, the Instagram, the Twitter, all the socials. Be sociable on the socials. And lastly, guys, just before I leave, don't forget, be safe, be kind, be you. Take care.